Being Shabbat, and we are uh, giving glory to the Most High Yah on this Shabbat day as we are continuing our study in the epistle of Shaul to the Romans, to the believers at Rome, to the assembly at Rome. And we've been enjoying this journey through this letter, and we'll continue to do that by the grace given to us in Messiah. But before we continue, before we get into the three scriptures that we will start our Shabbat with, as we start most Shabbats with, before we get into that, I'd like to offer a prayer to the Most High Yah. I'd like to offer prayer in the name of Messiah, so that as we go to study his most excellent word, as we go to study this word by the Father's Spirit that was given to the Hebrews, to the prophets of the Hebrews, that we might give glory to the Father, that we might give honor to him, that we might respect him as his name is worthy of all of that and much more. And so we ask for his Spirit to guide and direct us in his word today, that we might bring honor, glory, and blessing to his name. So let us enter into prayer, and then we'll come back and get into the scriptures. Most High Yah, we're again very grateful, very thankful, very humble for all you do for us every day. And as we see much violence and destruction and death, suffering all over this planet Earth, we praise you because we know it's all coming to an end very soon. And we ask, as we go into your word, that we might bring glory and honor as much as possible to your holy name. Bless all under the sound of my voice. Bless all that will seriously, sincerely, with an honest heart, take hold of your word, that your name and your name above all names, Yahweh, would be glorified in the name of Messiah, who is in your image, Yahweh Shah. Amen. Okay, let's get into first let me turn on the broadcast for those that are, all right, if you might notice, today we're back to Hangouts. It was a complete disaster. I don't know, I think it's me, but trying to get into YouTube and do a video is completely impossible. Every time I try to do it, there's always a tremendous amount of buffering. I make adjustments and then something else happens. It's ridiculous. And so I'm just getting tired of it. I don't know what's going to happen on August 1st. I know we do have Periscope, which is going live now. For those of you that need that, Isha or Bathaman, if she's here or she's not here. Isha, do you know the Periscope? Let me give you all the Periscope. It's you go to Periscope, and that's my handle on Periscope. That's my hand. And if you're in Twitter, if you have a Twitter account, both of those are free, by the way. You can go on Twitter. And there's the Twitter handle. So you have both the Periscope and the Twitter handle, and you can, and it's very clear. The broadcast is very clear on there. You can hear it very, very plainly. For now, we're until we can't do it anymore, I'm just going to stick to Hangouts, because this is the easiest way. It's very simple for me. It works, So it's a thing, and I just have a thing, as many of you who know me know. I would prefer not to have my face seen on the video. Some people might ask, why don't you want your face seen on the videos? Well, if I have to do it, I will do it. But the problem is that I want the word to go forth. I don't want me to be the focal point of this thing I'm calling a ministry that the Most High has given me. I don't want me to be the focal point. I want the word of Yah to be the focal point, okay? As much as possible. Can y'all hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3. I want to make sure. So I can y'all hear me? Okay, good. So I want the word to be the focal point. I want the scriptures. I want the message. I want the Spirit of the Father to be the focal point. I don't want to be the focal point at all. And that's why this ministry that we have, we ask for no money from anybody. We try to do everything as cheaply as possible. because money, we feel, has corrupted the word, has corrupted the message. And I don't think anybody can be trusted with it, to be quite honest with you. So we don't ask for any money from anybody. We don't want any. The Most High has blessed me with 2 strong arms, 2 strong legs. My body is strong, and I'm able to get employment, at this point. And so if I was not in that scenario, maybe something else would be the case. But that is the scenario. So I can easily go on a free platform like a Periscope or a Google Hangouts, and I could, broadcast the message. And that's the most important thing. As we're going to study today, as we're going to see today, by the grace of the Most High, the most important thing, brothers and sisters, is to be prepared to be covered in the Father's righteousness, to be made in the Father's image, okay? So that he would be given glory, so that we can obey his commandments, statutes, and judgments. Yes. Okay. I don't know why that is. I didn't do anything. Sister Josephine, Sister Isha is talking to me on the Hangout side, for y'all that's wondering what's going on. Can you see yourself in the room, Isha? I'm saying, can you see it if you go directly into Power Talk? Can you see yourself there? What happens when you go directly into Power Talk? Okay, yeah, because I don't see any. Type something in Power Talk. Let's see. Huh? Okay, I don't see anything. Okay. All right. So I don't know what's going on. Oh, you know what it is? It says you're like, it's like almost like you got your hand up because it says next. I see your name. Oh, I see. Okay, do this, do this. Go out and go back in, and let's see what happens. You could go out and go back in. Let's see what happens. Isha is the one that posts the scriptures for me. She does it very faithfully. She does it very well, as you all have seen. And she's having problems, whereas her texts are not appearing in the room. And we don't know what the scenario is, but what the situation is. But the Most High will work that out. She is going to try to go out and come back in and see what happens. All right, so we'll just have to do with without text today, I guess. We'll have to do without. Well, just now you were red dotted. Let's see what happens. Try one more time. Yeah, yeah. I think you were, for whatever reason, you were red dotted. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So since we're recording, let's get back to what we're doing here. I do. All right. Okay. All right. All right. So I think we got that straightened out. Praise the Most High. So I was saying is that the most important thing, brothers and sisters, is that we are perfectly reflective of the Father's righteousness, because that's what he initially created. That's what he initially created. And that's what was his intent, for us to be in his image. And not only that, being in his image, to grow up into more fully into his image. That's what he intended. And so that being the case, there is nothing more important right now than anything in regards to this message, but that it points people to that goal. That's the object, that it points men and women to that goal, to that preparation. And the Father has an order, as we have seen in the scriptures. Now, people fight the order, and that makes sense from a rebellious human race, that people would fight his order. But he has an order. He has made the man first. He made the woman from the man. Therefore, the man is supposed to be the head. Obviously, that's being challenged right now in the society in which we live. And that's one of the, and then he, of course, he set up Abraham as the chosen one. And from Abraham, he has, through Isaac or Yisha'ak, he has set up a chosen seed, and finally a nation that he has chosen to represent his righteousness to the earth. And so this order is still in place, but people have been obviously rebellious against that from all sides. And so right now, in these last days of Earth's history, the Most High is trying to reestablish, well, not trying to, he will. He's going to reestablish that order on the earth. And he's going to bring back the perfect righteousness, the perfect balance, the perfect symmetry of planet Earth that once existed, and it will exist again. Praise the Most High. I'm sorry for that interruption that we just had, but praise Yah, we did just get that straightened out with Isha. So let's look at our three scriptures. Isha, are you able to... let's see if you can post Exodus chapter 31 from verses 12 to 18. Let's see if you could do that. But there you go. Okay, praise the Most High. So the first scripture is Exodus chapter 31. We're going to read three scriptures, and then we're going to go into the study. Exodus chapter 31 from verses 12 to 18. Exodus 31 from verses 12 to 18. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbaths ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Yahweh that doth sanctify you. Ye shall keep the Sabbath therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to Yahweh. Whosoever doth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore, the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations, for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables, testimony, tables of stone written with the finger of the Most High. Exodus chapter 31. Verses 12 to 18. We turn now to the book of Deuteronomy, Adabarim, and we're looking at the chapter that we call the chapter of the awakening, chapter 30. We're not going to read the entire chapter, but we read from verses 1 through 10 of Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 1 through 10. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither Yahweh thy Most High hath driven thee, and shalt return unto Yahweh thy Most High, and shalt obey his voice, according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that then Yahweh thy Most High will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations, whither Yahweh thy Most High have scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out to the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy Most High gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And Yahweh thy Most High will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers. And Yahweh thy Most High will circumcise thy heart and the heart of thy seed, to love Yahweh thy Most High with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And Yahweh, thy most high, will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of Yahweh, and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day. And Yahweh, thy most high, will make thee plenteous in every work of thine hand, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy land for good. For Yahweh will again rejoice over thee for good, as he rejoiced over thy fathers. If thou shalt hearken to the voice of Yahweh, thy most high, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which are written in this book of the law, and if thou turn unto Yahweh, thy most high, with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Praise Yah. Deuteronomy 30 from verses 1 through 10. Now, last but not least, we turn to the revelation of the Messiah. The book of the revelation of the Messiah, revelation of Yahushua, which Yah gave unto him. Revelation, and we're going to be looking at the seventh trumpet, the last trumpet of the seven trumpets, which we are soon to hear. We're in the sixth trumpet right now, and we're about to go into the seventh one very soon. Beginning at verse 15 of Revelation chapter 11. Revelation chapter 11, beginning at verse 15 and going down to verse 19. And the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Yah and of his Messiah, and he shall reign forever and ever. And the 24 elders which sat before Yahweh on their seats fell upon their faces and worshipped Yahweh, saying, we give thee thanks, O Yahweh al Shaddai, which art and wast and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power and hast reigned. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come in the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. And the temple of Yahweh was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his covenant. And there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hail. All praise, honor, glory, blessing, majesty be to the Most High Yahweh, who created heaven and earth and all things that are therein. Thank you, Isha, for posting those scriptures. So as we were saying earlier, the Father in heaven has designed that the earth would be filled with righteousness. He created it that way. An enemy that came that wanted, an enemy came that wanted control, tricked our mother Eve into rebelling against the Creator. And through our mother Eve, he compelled our father Adam to do the same, and brought this earth the condition that we now see. This earth is in a situation where, as the Bible has predicted, the sun would scorch men with great heat. They're calling it global warming. Have you noticed that? Have any of y'all noticed that? They're calling it global warming. The sun scorched men with great heat, the Bible says was going to happen. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now, isn't it? And we're only seeing the beginning. I saw a video recently where the scientists were saying that right now, when we have a heat wave and it's extra hot, like you get temperatures in the high 90s and low 100s for a week or two, that's what they call a heat wave. Y'all know that, right? You go into a summer situation and, where normally it might be 85, 90, but then all of a sudden it becomes 95, it becomes 105, becomes more than that. And the humidity is real thick so that it's harder to breathe when you go outside. What the scientists I saw today said is that in the future, that's going to be the normal day. They're not going to call it a heat wave. That's going to be the normal day. And they're saying that this is going to take place over the next 30 to 40 years. I'm telling you today, from reading the scriptures, it's going to take place in the next couple of years. It's going to take place in the next couple of years. Because, brothers and sisters, the reason I say that is what the scientists in their calculations and such, to bless them, what they fail to recognize is how much sin multiplies. See, it multiplies. And when it multiplies, right, it proliferates, or it grows at a rate faster than they can anticipate. And let me give you an example. I mean, some of y'all are old as me. I'm there 60 years old. Some of y'all as old as me. And you go back into the 60s and 70s, right? And you can remember when there were times you didn't have to lock your door. You can remember when there were times when neighborhoods weren't as dangerous. You can remember when there was times when things in general were a little better, but over this 40, 50-year period, it's gotten so bad. It's gotten so crazy that you don't even know if the guy living next door to you is a child molester. You don't even know if the young man knocking on your door is wanting to snatch a little girl from your house and throw them in the van and you never see them again. You don't even know who you live next to anymore. Okay? You don't even know. That's where we're at. That's the way the world is today. That's what it's about. Okay? So sin is proliferating. You don't even know if one day the guy that you see every day in the grocery store, or you see him every day in the grocery store and he seems to mind his own business and you're just doing what you do. You don't even know if one day that fella comes in with a loaded gun and just starts shooting everybody. You don't even know. And you might say, well, he always minded his own business. He was always quiet. We thought we knew him. We would say hi to Jerry. He was in the neighborhood and Jerry came in there and blew everybody up that he could and then killed himself. That's not uncommon, is it? It used to be when we first started hearing about stuff like that, it was a tragedy and the world would be mourning. It happens now almost every month, right? Somewhere it's always happening almost every month. And so what I'm saying is sin is proliferating. And the effects of sin are proliferating. Okay? That's what's going on now. And so when they're talking about, when they're talking about 30 and 40 years, they know. But we know. There ain't no 30 and 40 years. Next couple, 5, 10 years. Okay, it's proliferating. And sin is the cause of it. I know scientists like to say, oh, if we can just stop our carbon emissions, if we can just do this and do that. And you know what? All that is good. I understand. To me, it's better that somebody tries to do something than nobody does anything, right? But we as Hebrew Israelites, as the people of this book know, this is prophesied because of man's sin. This is prophesied. You think this dude they just caught up with, this Ashkenazi dude, Epstein, who runs this big sex ring. You think he's the only one? Huh? You think he's the only one? You know what's going on, brothers and sisters? Let me tell you something. Messiah told us that all things that are be hidden is going to be revealed. Didn't he say that? He said that everything that's hidden is going to be revealed. And he's showing us, he's allowing us to get a peek at these things for us to understand what is really happening. For example, there are many faithful Roman Catholics and Christians all over the earth, right? But wait a minute. Now you finding out a lot of them like to have sex with little boys. Am I lying? Am I telling the truth, or is that true? Wait, you've been seeing this for 20, 30 years. They've been bringing it out. These men be having sex with so many little boys, thousands of little boys that have gone out into the earth and messed themselves, head all messed up. And why is that? The Most High is giving us a peek at what's really happening. You going to wake up or aren't you? Do you know I found out a statistic the other day that kind of blew me away? Do you know that the divorce rate is higher among evangelical Christians than among non-Christians? Isn't that amazing? Like the so-called, family, the so-called family, what they call themselves, conservative evangelical family, they have more divorce than anybody else in the United States. And I didn't look at this. I'm just telling, this is me. This next thing is me. I bet you if you find out there'll be more adultery in there too. I bet you find out there'll be more hanky-panky going on in there too. Okay. Well, why is all of that? Because the Most High, he's lifting up the sheet. The Most High is showing you what really these things are about. Now, picture all of that against what we just said the Most High's purpose is. His purpose is perfect righteousness. His purpose is for us to overcome all sin. That's his purpose. The purpose of Messiah is for his chosen people to be perfectly reflective of him so that the Gentiles will see it and everybody that comes under the shadow of that Israelite righteousness will overcome all. That's the purpose. That's why Revelation starts off the first 7 churches. If you see, to him that overcometh. 7 times he says that. 7. To him that overcometh. Because that's the purpose. That's what it's about. Okay? And it's about to come off. It's about to come off. It's now, we're like I said, we're in this last home stretch, brothers and sisters. I've been telling y'all, now we don't keep Jubilee right now as Israelites. We can't. Jubilee means all our land is returned to us. Jubilee means all debts are forgiven. Well, we don't have that. See, and that's what I'm trying to tell some of these brothers that claim they're keeping a feast. Okay, go ahead. Go keep the feast, all right? I'm not trying to down the brothers, but I'm trying to tell you, you can't keep feasts in your enemy's land. You can't celebrate while your brothers are stacked up in prisons and suffering. You can't celebrate while we shooting each other in the street. What y'all talking about? There's no Jubilee for us. But I will tell you this, heaven is marking it. And that's what I say. The heavenly courts mark the feast. And they're marking the feast not because we're supposed to be celebrating them here right now in our enemy's land as we're scattered all over the place in spiritual Babylon. No, not that. They're marking it because the feasts are not just celebrations. The feasts are prophetic markers. You hear me? The feasts are prophetic markers. They are waymarks to show you where we are in Earth's history. Prophetic markers, so that the Passover was Messiah's death and resurrection. The death being the Passover itself, the resurrection being the wave offering, the first day after the first Sabbath of the week of Passover, the wave offering. The next one, the 49 days going into the 50th day, Pentecost, which is also called the Feast of Weeks. That feast was a sign of the early rain, the earnest, as the Bible calls it, the down payment of the power of the Father's Spirit coming on his people in the first century. The down payment, just a little taste, just a warning shot of what's getting ready to happen. Then Daniel said the time would be long before the sanctuary would be cleansed. That was a day of atonement. The time would be long, he said. How long? Daniel 8:14 tells us 2,300 evenings and mornings, which prophetically speaking is 2,300 years, which ended in 1844. Then the cleansing of the sanctuary in heaven began. The heavenly sanctuary cleansing, not an earthly one, the one where it was made not with human hands, but by the Father. And so the Father have his Son cleansing the sanctuary. It's only supposed to be a day of atonement, one day, which is prophetically equal to 1 year. But here we are past 1844. We are 175 years past that. So why is he still there? Because the scriptures show us there's a delay. And the delay The delay is the headliner. What's the delay? Revelation chapter 7. Revelation chapter 7. Don't worry, we're getting ready to get into Romans chapter 8. All this leading up to it. You know how I do. Revelation chapter 7. This is the delay. Matter of fact, because we in the sixth seal, let's start at Revelation chapter 6, verse 12, because this is where we at. We're in the sixth seal, the sixth church, the sixth trumpet right now. That's where we at. Okay? Sixth church, sixth seal, sixth trumpet. This is where we at. We Philadelphia right here. Okay? Notice again, Revelation chapter 6, verses 12 to 17. Notice what it said. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places, and the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is coming. Who shall be able to stand? Oh, I love this because it gives me so much hope, brothers and sisters. This is a depiction of the return of Messiah. In case you didn't recognize it, this sixth seal is a depiction of the return of Messiah. And this, I say, started in 1844. Well, what happened? How come he didn't come back? What stopped him? There's a delay. The question was asked, who shall be able to stand? This is going to come to pass. It's going to come to pass. Okay? And this is sort of like what happened with Egypt at that time when we were delivered from Egypt. When our fathers delivered from Egypt, the Egyptians was like, get out of here. Y'all get out of here. And they told Pharaoh, don't you realize Egypt is destroyed? Get these people out of here. And so the people were leaving. And as they were leaving, the Egyptian came to themselves and said, what did we just do? What did we just do? Let's go get them and kill them. And that's what's going to happen here. They're going to run. They're going to hide. They're going to see the power and glory of Messiah. They're going to be running. Then after we get caught up to meet Messiah, they're going to come to themselves and say, man, what just happened? What's going on here? And when they see us rest over there on our land, in our nation, and destroy everything that's over there. See, don't be worried about running over there now. Because when Messiah comes, it's on. And they're going to try to gather themselves together. I showed you that last night in Revelation chapter 19. It's also Ezekiel chapter 39. They're going to try to gather themselves together to fight against us. Of course, that is fruitless. It's not going to be doing, it's going to be on. But that's what they're going to try to do. But there was a delay. And why? 1844? Where were the true Hebrews in 1844? Where were they? In chains. Now, England had loosed us from our chains. I'm not sure if Brazil had, but for sure in this lamb-like country that speaks like a dragon, we were in chains. Okay, and would be in chains for another 20 years until the Emancipation Proclamation. The Emancipation Proclamation, which Lincoln himself said he would not have done if he wasn't trying to save the Union. He was desperate because them Confederates is getting ready to take over the whole country. So he in desperation, he signs this Emancipation Proclamation. Let's get them Negroes on our side. Let's promise them freedom, and they fight with us against them crazy Confederates. And that's exactly what happened. Let the brothers loose. And the brothers got loose. And the Union won. Then, because of that destruction, the whole nation was destroyed. The major cities, Atlanta, was reduced to rubble. New Orleans reduced to rubble. And it had to be rebuilt. And that was called the time of Reconstruction. And because it had to be rebuilt, guess who was leading the effort? The Negroes. And after it was rebuilt and they had their cities back and they had their towns back and they had everything back the way they wanted it, guess what they did? They turned back and tried to put us in chains again. They tried to be slick about it, try to put all kind of debt on us. Tell me if this sounds familiar to you. Try to put all kind of debt on us and then for nonviolent crimes, had us in prison. for long stretches of time. Tell me if that sounds familiar. I could be talking about 2019, but I'm talking about the 19th century right now. And it's the same. Okay? And they got bolder and bolder and bolder in what they were doing. Why? Because at that time, that delay was to cause the 144,000 to begin their awakening period. That's what's going on. See, we got caught up, just like our fathers in Egypt during the Reconstruction. Let me just break this down for you. We got caught up into thinking we were American citizens. That's what happened. Our fathers got caught up into thinking because of Joseph that they were Egyptian citizens. That they were just, them and the Mizraim, well, they looked alike, right? They were just from different tribes. So they were like brethren. But the Egyptians didn't think that way. The Egyptians ended up putting our fathers in slavery. And we started thinking we American citizens. They wasn't thinking that way. They never did. And it makes sense that they wouldn't. Why would any group of people bring another group of people in slave chains and in ships to their land and in order to make them equal with them? I mean, does that make any sense to you? I mean, would you go, if you were a trader in human flesh, you would capture people, right? And you would capture people and bring them to your land, and you bring them there and you work them till they die, and you just breed them enough so that you can get more of them to work them till they die. And your purpose is to actually make them equal with you? Come on. Let's be real now. Let's be real now. So that wasn't the situation, but we were not very wise. We're still worshiping now white Jesus, and we still think we were going to be equal with them. So we helped them rebuild their thing, rebuild all their stuff, build up the White House, the whole thing. And then they put us back into chains. But they have these legal excuses, the debt and breaking of their laws, and they put us in chains. Okay. Then we tried, listen, I'm not finished. Then we tried to prove to them that we are going to be good citizens. So here come World War I, and boy, brothers sign up. Why do brothers sign up? Brothers sign up because they want to prove to the Caucasian man, no, we're not really animals. No, we're not really, inhuman. No, we really want to be good citizens of this country. We're not the only people to do that. The Polish people did that. The Irish people did that. The Italian, all of them that come from all them countries do the same thing, trying to prove they're quote unquote good Americans. Well, you see, brothers and sisters, we different from all of them. None of them came over here in chains. And the people that brought us here in chains, they're not scared of the Italians. They're not scared of the Germans. They're not scared of the Irish. They're scared of us because they know what they did to us. See? And the whole narrative about us being animals and dangerous and wild is a narrative they brought. But see, we didn't get that. So we start believing what they told us, and we fought in World War I. And our brothers came back with their uniforms on and got strung up in trees with their uniforms on. Go overseas to fight for this country in foreign lands. Come back over here with medals on their chest, and their medals and their uniforms didn't mean nothing. All it meant was you got a gun in your hand, string this nigga up. That's what it meant. Then we said, maybe we didn't fight hard enough, so we fought for them in World War II. We fought for them in Korea. We fought for them in Vietnam. Where'd it get us? We still in the same position we were in after the Reconstruction. Nothing has changed. All they have done is pass certain laws to try to keep us calm. That's the truth about it. They have passed certain laws to try to keep us calm, to keep us sedated. You know what it means to be sedated? That's, sedated means you get all excited. Maybe you get hyper, you start getting all hyped, and the doctor gives you some pills, or he gives you something so that you calm down and you're docile. You're sedated. That's what they've been doing to us. Just y'all think Barack Obama, what you think they brought Barack Obama forth for? We was about to go off, and all of a sudden they brought Barack Obama forth, and we all got what? Sedated. Because the honest truth is, hey, listen, I'm as proud as anybody to see a black man walk in the White House and be called Mr. President. I'm as proud as anybody to see that. But let me tell you something. The brother ain't do nothing for us. I mean, I'm just being honest. You tell me, what did he do that changed our current condition? What has happened since Barack Obama was president to improve our condition? As a matter of fact, let me tell you something. More brothers got shot in the street during that 8-year period than almost any other time in history. More brothers got shot in the street during Barack Obama's. And what he do? He sent his Eric Holder to say, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, this is terrible. But they didn't do nothing about it. None of the cops went to jail. They all got declared innocent. Okay? See, so brothers and sisters, all they trying to do is keep us sedated. But the truth of the matter is, the word of the Father is going to come to pass. He intends to bring righteousness to this earth. In spite of all the wickedness, iniquity, unfairness that has been going on for centuries. You see, brothers and sisters, we talk about reparations. You can't make up for hundreds of years of what you did to the chosen people. You can't do that. It's impossible. The only thing you can possibly do is hand us the keys to the joint. That's all you can do. And we know you're not going to do that. So what's going to happen? Revelation chapter 7. Revelation chapter 7. The question was asked, who shall be able to stand? Revelation chapter 7, from verse 1 down to verse 4. Revelation chapter 7, from verse 1 down to verse 4. And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Most High. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Most High in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Somebody might eventually ask you this question. If you're an Israelite, somebody's going to ask you this question. A heathen more than likely going to ask you this question, or a coon that's in the place of a heathen. They're going to ask you this question. How many of you are there? Because the awakening is spreading. It's spreading. Some of y'all paying attention can see the awakening is spreading. Brothers are being raised up. People are receiving this message. Both Gentiles and Hebrews receiving this message. Okay, and so the awakening is in full effect right now. So people are going to ask you, how many of you are there? You know why they ask you that? Because they want to know how many they got to fight against. But what does the scripture tell us? The scripture only numbers the men prepared for war in the book of Numbers. It numbers the men prepared for war, numbers the Levites. Okay. But he told David, don't number the people. Don't number them. Yahweh shall make you so much as the sand of the sea. In other words, don't worry about how many you are, so that we don't know how many we are. We're not supposed to. The only people that count how many they are churches seeking money. That's the only one they count how many you are. How many people in your church? Well, we got 1 million. We got 2 million. We got 100 million, because they're trying to say how much money they got. That's the only thing. Israelites don't need to count. And they'll say, well, if they counted the men prepared for war, at least you should know what that number is. And yes, we do. How many are the men prepared for war? 144,000. 144,000. That's the men prepared for war. Praise the Most High Yah. He said, hurt not the earth till we have sealed the servants of Yahweh in their foreheads. Brothers and sisters, that's where we're at right now. That was the delay. And all this last 175 years, there's been a tremendous skirmish on planet Earth, 2 world wars, plus untold other wars that we've seen in just the last 175 years. 175 years from 1844 to now, we've seen civil war. We've seen overthrow of the Tsar in Russia. We've seen all kind of conflagrations all over the earth, all in the continent of Africa, all in the Central American nations, all in Haiti, all over the place. Conflagrations, not to mention the World War I, the World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War. all over the earth. We've seen conflagrations. We've seen all kinds of crazy things. Why? Satan is going stark raving mad because he knows what's getting ready to happen. The Bible says he's enraged because he knows he has a short time. He understands that his time is short. And brothers and sisters, there's nothing that's going to stop the movement of righteousness. Nothing. Nothing's going to stop it. And that's why it brings us to Romans chapter 8. Well, before we get to Romans chapter 8, let me read one more thing. One of my favorite little verses, which y'all heard me read many times. I'm going to look at it again. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 21. 2 Corinthians 5, 21. Notice what it says. 2 Corinthians 5, 21. Here we are in the time of grace right now, in dispensation of grace right now. And in this dispensation, the message is, for he hath made him, that means Father hath made Messiah to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of Yah in Messiah. See, I'm just saying that as because he and him, people may not understand what that is. For Father Yah hath made Messiah to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we, his chosen people, might be made the righteousness of Yah in Messiah. That's the whole point, brothers and sisters. That's the whole point. Righteousness is going to reign eventually. See, don't have to march in those streets. Don't have to take up guns and arms. No, you don't have to do that. Don't worry about that. Right now, we have to be armed with righteousness. We have to be armed with the Father's Spirit. Brothers and sisters, y'all should know. Y'all should know. We're not talking to the choir, but some of y'all may not know. This is why I'm going to say this. When you have the Father's Spirit on you and an army can come at you, all you got to do is put your hand up and they might all fall down. You know that? You just put your hand up and they all fall down because the Spirit of the Father is more powerful than anything man can create. There's no bomb, there's no gun, there's no plane, there's nothing they can create that can overcome the power of the Father's Spirit of righteousness. And that's just coming through us, his weak vessels. We're not even talking about him himself. We're not even talking about that. But he's going to show forth his glory through us. His vessels, praise the Most High. The ones that's been in the chain gangs, the one that's been crackheads, the one that's been heroin addicts, the one that's been trying to prove ourselves to the Caucasian man about being good Americans. He gonna prove through us his righteousness. Yes, Father made Messiah to be sin for us who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of the Father in Messiah. He has set forth Messiah. You see the appearance of Messiah, just the appearance of Messiah. When he first arrived on planet Earth, his appearance, when he first showed up at the River Jordan to be baptized of Yochanan the Baptist, when he first showed up there, Satan knew, oh shoot, this is a problem. He knew it. This is a problem. This is a problem. You see, nobody else that day and even after that recognized what Satan knew. Why? Because here come this man walking from Nazareth to the Jordan River. Okay, he walking from Nazareth to the Jordan River, and he's a poor man. He ain't got no money. He can't even give an offering to the prophet. It was a common thing to give an offering to a prophet. Right? And he couldn't even give an offering to the prophet. He walked up there, but the prophet Yochanan saw, and the Spirit of the Father talked to him and said, this is he. This is he of whom I told you. This is why you exist, to get ready for him. Messiah walked up, waited his turn, then walked up to John the Baptist. And John said, very rightly, I'd like to be baptized by you. And you come from me to baptize you? And Messiah said, allow it to happen because it's going to become us to fulfill all righteousness. When Messiah did that, he was showing us how we were going to be cleansed. That was what he was doing. He was showing us he is our example in all things. And he was showing us how we was going to be cleansed. Okay. And Satan knew right there, this is a problem. This is a problem. And he immediately started working with the religious leaders, even started with the brothers, the own people of the Israelite nation and the Edomites, in an attempt to stop this man from doing what he came to do. Of course, he could not stop the Father's will. He could not do it. So then after that, he tried to stop the followers. But you see, the followers received that down payment. They received the down payment of the Ruach. They received the down payment of the Ruach, and that spirit of righteousness was on them, and there was nothing he could do. They're willing to die. They're willing to get burned alive. They're willing to get chopped to pieces. They didn't care. And he didn't know how to handle that. So what he did, he infiltrated. Starting with Constantine, he infiltrated. And through the infiltration, he created this new religion called Christianity. He remarketed, repackaged Messiah, repackaged him. But you see, brothers and sisters, all praise to Yah, he already prophesied about that back in Daniel. So he already saw that coming and warned us back in Daniel. See, nothing Asatan could do surprises the Father. Father's way ahead of him. Because we read, remember we said that him that was and is to come. He's the Alpha and Omega. You can't surprise him. All your plans laid open. And so that's why we know there is nothing, I mean absolutely nothing, that can stop us from receiving the righteousness of the Father. Let's go to Romans chapter 8. As long as we want the righteousness of the Father, as long as we're not tempted to trust in the earthly things, as long as we're not tempted to put our trust in man, as long as we're not tempted to think just because man says something, oh, it's the end of the world tomorrow, you're going to be scared? If scientists come on today and they said to you, the asteroid getting ready to hit the earth and it was coming right for where you live, you going to be scared? Come on, be honest. You know what? You better praise Yah. That's what you should be. Praise him. Let it come, praise him. You know, asteroids scaring us. That's right. That's the real. But don't worry, your words are going to be tested. Romans chapter 8. Let's start at verse 28. Romans chapter 8, verse 28. Let's go from verse 28 down to verse 32. Romans chapter 8 from verse 28 down to verse 32. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love Yahweh, to them who are the called according to his purpose. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he, that is his Son, might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called. Whom he called, them he also justified. Whom he justified, them he also glorified. What shall we say then to these things? If Yah be for us, who can be against us? He that spared not his own Son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? Let's stop right here. So, brothers and sisters, he predestinated those he called to be conformed into the image of his Son. We talked about this last night. Again, it goes exactly what we're talking about now. The object, brothers and sisters, of the bringing forth of the 144,000, first and foremost, is to bear witness of the Father's righteousness with such a power that it inspires those who are seeking righteousness to come forth. That is why you see often in the book of Revelation, in a couple of places, you see people coming from every nation and kindred, tongue, and people, right? You see people coming from every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. Why is that? Remember what he told our father Abraham. He told Abraham, I'm going to make you what? The father of many nations. In thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Why? Because Father, being the Alpha and Omega, knowing the end from the beginning, being present in the past, being present in the present, and being present in the future. Father, knowing everything, knew that Abraham's seed would be spread all over this earth because of their sin. And in the countries and nations where they spread, their seed would mingle with other people. And the other people who received the seed of the Israelite is blessed. In thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Oh, yes. He knew that. And when he says firstborn, this is what people don't understand. A couple of things. This is the term y'all may have read, firstborn or first fruits, right? You see that term, the first fruits or the firstborn? You understand? So people get confused with those terms because of how they're used. But let me just explain to you. Firstborn means the example. That's the example of what he wants, what he's looking for. Okay, so he said that his son might be the firstborn among many brethren. The son is the actually perfect example of what he wants all the people to be like, what he wants them all to look like in terms of character of righteousness. Okay, just like the 144,000 are the first fruits unto Yah, unto the Lamb. What does that mean? That means they are exactly what the Father desires his grace and righteousness to produce. That's what they call the first fruit, because that's exactly what he wants to be produced. This is the first thing. This is what he wants it to look like. And that's why, brothers and sisters, many of us are going to have come out of very dark places. You should praise Yah. If you've been through some hell, that's what I was talking about last night. If you've been through some hell on this earth, praise him. Why? Because he desires to bring you from that hell to glory. He desires for you to come from those abusive situations and come and one day stand on Mount Zion with Messiah as an overcomer. And why would he want that? Because what does that do? When he shows a person that was under the depths of blackness come to the brightness of glory, what has he done? He has shown forth his own glory, hasn't he? He has shown forth his own glory. So yeah, if you were a young woman and some grown man when you were a little girl put himself on you and abused you, first off, I'm going to say something a little crazy. But bear with me because you'll understand. If it was you, that means another little girl it wasn't happening to. And you are chosen by Yah, and you're going to overcome what that man did to you, right? So now, if he was abusing you, at least there was another little girl he wasn't doing it to, that he could have been doing it. So you yourself became a savior for somebody else. You understand what I'm saying? So while he was doing it to you, there was another little girl he might have snatched up, but he wasn't doing it to that little girl. He did it to you, and the Most High let him because he knew he was going to bring you forth from it. He's going to bring you forth from it. You're going to not only survive, he's going to bring you forth into light. You were a little boy and somebody abused you. Well, while he was abusing you, he could have been doing it to another little boy. The Most High let him do it to you because he knew he was going to bring you from it. He knew he was going to have you overcome. And think about it. If the abuse you suffered stopped it from happening to somebody else, you think it was worth it? What you had to go through. And we're not even talking about what he's getting ready to do for you and in you and through you. That's why we said last night, and we say it again. Don't ask why me. Ask why not me. You can't do it. You can't ask that question unless the Father's Spirit is on you. You understanding what I'm saying? It's not flesh and blood that's revealing it to you. It's the Father's Spirit that's revealing it to you. It's not flesh and blood. Because that is spiritually deep. That is deep. And I think you'll understand what I'm saying. Why not you? You belong to Yah. He has called you forth from the cesspool to put you in a palace. And there are people that live this life in palaces that are headed to the cesspool. That's the truth about it. There are people right now in palaces headed to the cesspool, and he brought you from the cesspool, and he's going to have you in the palace. Don't worry about that. He never, we just read it. All things work together for good. all things. He never allows you to go through something that he's not going to strengthen you to get through. And if you find yourself looking at it from the other side, guess what? You made it. You made it. And the object is for us to be conformed to the firstborn. Amen. Okay. Another reason I don't want to show my face is for this. Romans chapter 8, verse 30, down to verse 32 again. Romans 8, 30 to 32. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them also he called. And whom he called, them also he justified. And whom he justified, them also he glorified. What shall we say then to these things? If Yah be for us, who can be against us? He that spared not his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? So, brothers and sisters, again, we understand the Father sacrificed his own son, the one that is in his image, Messiah, the one that is a perfect representation of his righteousness, Messiah. He sacrificed Messiah in order to bring us into the image of Messiah. Okay? So if he sacrificed Messiah, that means the Father's not doing that for nothing. You understand? He has not sacrificed his son for nothing. He has sacrificed his son because through the sacrifice, he intends to bring forth a people, first the Israelite nation and then the Gentiles that follow, to bring forth a people made into the image of his son. Conformed into the image. To be conformed means you have to be made. You have to be made. That's what born again is all about. You are remade. All of us were born from a mother. You didn't make it into this life without coming through some woman's womb. You had to do that. But that birth was just the one that caused you to be a citizen of the planet Earth, to be a human being in the planet Earth. That's all that birth did. That does not cause you to be a citizen of the kingdom of Yah. A born again experience, an experience with his Father, with the Father's Spirit through Messiah, causes you to be prepared to be a citizen of an eternal kingdom that will never pass away, but that will stand forever. And as Daniel says, even forever and ever. World without end. So he is preparing to give us everything we need, which is righteousness, which is truth, which is justice. He's preparing to bring us everything that he wants to bring forth on this earth. And he's starting it in his people. See, it starts in us, brothers and sisters. It starts with us. And then it continues from us to be bearing witness to the earth. And then he's going to bring forth the final group of people before he brings utter and total annihilation to this planet. Going to completely destroy everything else that's here. And then he's going to rebuild it. He's going to remake it into his own image because it's all been defiled now. It's all been messed up because of sin. As you can see, we talked about the global warming. We talked about the destruction, the pollution in the oceans and the air being polluted. So that in some countries, people got to wear masks on their face. The air is so dirty. Some places you can't even drink the water because it'll make you sick. Check out Michigan, right? Check out Michigan. Some places you can't even drink the water. It'll make you sick. That's where we live right now. And he's going to bring all that to an end very shortly. It's going to get, but before it gets better, it's going to get worse. I'm going to tell you right now, we already talked about it. It's about to get hotter. Flint, Michigan, that's right. It's about to get hotter. Disasters are going to get more destructive. More property is going to be destroyed. More people's lives are going to be lost. You're saying, well, he's preaching gloom and doom. I don't care what you call it. I'm calling it truth. This is what's getting ready to come down. And the only preparation you have is the Father's Spirit guiding you. That's the only preparation you got. And if he stations angels all around you, it doesn't matter where he sends you, he's going to take care of you, just like he did before. When he sent our fathers out of Egypt, the Bible says the rock that followed them was Messiah. They were provided for. They didn't have extravagant accommodations. They were living in tents, and they were going through deserts and hot places. And in the nighttime, he had a wall of fire above them to keep them warm because it gets cold in the desert. And in the daytime, he had a cloud to cover them from the heat, and he provided them water out of a rock. He just gave them exactly what they needed and no more. Why? Because he was testing them to make sure that they understood who it was providing for them, that they would be faithful and loyal to him. And many of them, he was not, Bible says he was not well pleased, and their carcasses died in the wilderness. That's right. Their carcasses died in the wilderness, and they didn't get into the land, but their children got into the land. Well, brothers and sisters, let me tell you something. We are the children. We are the children. And we're going through. This time, we're going through. And I want you, my wife and I were talking about this yesterday. If you look at the story of when Joshua led them into the promised land, I'm going to ask you, here's a test question. Here's a test question. Right before they crossed the Jordan, and they crossed the Jordan River on dry ground. They crossed the Jordan River on dry ground, right? Right before they crossed the Jordan River on dry ground, what did they do? Do you remember what they did right before they crossed the Jordan River on dry ground? They did something. Do you remember what they did? Right before they crossed the Jordan River on dry ground. They did something right before. Now, the River Jordan parted, and they walked through. The Levites came first, right? The Levites came first, and the Levites stood in the middle of the Jordan River on dry ground, okay? But they did something right before they passed over, right before. Let me show you. They picked up stones as they came through, but even before they picked up the stones, they did something else. This is very important. Let me show you. Joshua chapter 5. Joshua chapter 5. Notice what it says. Joshua chapter 5. I'm going to read from verse 1 down to verse 7. Joshua chapter 5 from 1 to 7. Watch. And it came to pass when all the kings of the Amorites, which were on the side of Jordan, westward, and all the kings of the Canaanites, which were by the sea, heard that Yahweh had dried up the waters of Jordan from before the children of Israel, until we passed over, that their hearts melted. Neither was there their spirit in them anymore because of the children of Israel. At that time, Yahweh said unto Joshua, at the hill of the foreskin. And this is the cause why Joshua did circumcise. as they came forth of Egypt, them they had not circumcised. For consumed because they obeyed not the voice of Yahweh, which Yahweh swore, a land that floweth with milk and honey, and their children whom he raised up in their. We're not going to have to go through a physical circumcision, but there's a preparation right before we get the land. There's a preparation of spirit. Our hearts have to be circumcised. Our spirit has to be set. We have to be prepared, confirmed to be prepared to go in. You can't just go in and take the land unprepared, because he's not having sin rise up a second time. So we got to be confirmed, ready. That's what the time of Jacob's trouble is all about. That's what the time of trouble such as never was is all about for the Hebrew. Now, for the heathen, there's going to be plagues they got to deal with. They're going to be all kinds of really horrible things they got to deal with. But for us, it's just a test for us to be prepared to go in, to take the land, to be prepared. Okay? Right before they take the land. Here we go. Y'all getting ready? Because that's what it is, brothers and sisters. Now, let's continue. Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8. Let's finish this chapter from verse 33 down to verse 39. Romans, can y'all hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3. You hear me? Can you type a 1? I want to make sure. Okay. Pandora, apparently. Uh-oh. It's skipping. Okay, I'm going to go out and come back in. Hang on one second. Testing 1, 2, 3. Is it skipping? Oh, it's skipping in YouTube. Okay, I can't control the YouTube side. My bad. I can't control YouTube. Okay. Yeah, definitely can't control YouTube. Anyway, let's read from verse 33 down to verse 39 of Romans chapter 8. Who shall lay anything to the charge of Yah's elect? It is Yah that justifies. Who is he that condemneth? It is Messiah that died, rather, that is risen again, who is even at the right hand of Yah, who maketh intercession for us. Who shall separate us from the love of Messiah? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or sword? As it is written, for thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Yea, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of Yahweh, which is in Messiah, Yahweh Shah, our master, our savior. Praise Yah. So see, brothers and sisters, there is no power available to Asatan. He uses all these things. He uses principalities. He uses powers. He uses death. He uses life. He tries to tribulation, distress, persecution, famine, nakedness. He tries to use all these things, and we'll use them again to try to separate us from the Father. Father is telling us right here, there's nothing he could do. There's nothing he could do. The power of grace, as long as we want it, as long as we are decided that we want to give the Father glory, and that's why we're here on the planet, as long as that's the case, there's no to stop what's getting ready to happen. He's trying. He's going to continue to try. And he's going to use his servants to try to do that. But there's absolutely nothing he can do to stop it. Nothing. Okay? Nothing. All that can stop us is us. That's the only thing. So brothers and sisters, while we implore each and everyone to follow the Father, seek his face, seek his glory alone. Don't seek your glory, seek his. Seek the Father's glory. Seek the glory that's in Messiah. Seek that alone. Yes, it makes sense that it's skipping. Makes sense. Amen. Let's have a word of prayer.